There. Somebody's joining us. It's a Wilmuth. Are you there, Maury?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, share screen. So let us begin. Party tonight, right? Did you guys already talk about all that? Yeah, so at whose house? At the Evansons at what time? 5 to 7, it's the Christmas party. Grab a bag of cookies and come. Right? Okay. We are in Matthew 10. Matt Buck, would you open us in prayer, please?
Oh yeah, I just want to thank you for this day and for everyone that's here. We just ask that you be with those that are able to be with us. Help us to learn what you would have us learn.
And so Maury, could you hear him? Maury? You know, apparently. Jennifer, could you hear him? I think that's a thumbs up.
No, thumbs down.
Okay. Are we doing anything wrong?
Can you hear me? It may have just been that.
Can you hear me, Jen?
Okay, that's good.
Okay.
So my mom has said that when we're out here reading, that it's really hard to hear, so we have to really project.
Yeah, we'll get there.
What?
What?
Ceiling mic so you can hear. We haven't got there yet. We're working. It's a process.
Yeah, right now we're just using your mic on the computer, so.
Oh,
Big difference.
when I because I'm talking, right?
Okay, now you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
He went to go get breakfast.
What it's priority church to you. That's okay.
Oh, his daughter made it for him.
Oh, so it's just downstairs. Okay. All right. We're gonna start now. All right. Would you read for me, Nancy?
Sure. And he called to him his 12 disciples and gave them authority over unclean spirits to cast them out and to heal every disease and every affliction.
Pause. I'm in the middle of a intense discussion. You know, on Thursday nights, I do go to a thing called Theology on Tap, which is a bunch of 40 somethings. They're all 40 plus or minus 5, 35 to 45, though we do have a 20 something in there. And I'm the resident old man. But these are a bunch of Reform guys, Presbyterians. Not all of them. There's a Catholic among us, me, and then a charismatic, well, John, the one that runs City of Hope. He's charismatic reformist. But we're having this discussion about cessation of the gifts. Does God still move like this? And when I see this, authority over spirits to cast them out and heal every disease and every affliction, I don't see a temporal block on that for this time period only. It doesn't say that. Now, what would be the reason for being able, Jesus casting out demons is one thing, but what would be the reason for him giving authority to us to cast out demons in the context of what we've been reading in Matthew? Nothing.
Authority can give to disciples or people who believe. So prepare the disciples to do the ministry after his ascension.
Certainly part of it. What else?
We are made in God's image. So we are his children. We are in, he didn't call us. Jesus is like our brother.
And he is an example of what the People lose sight of this because we're so focused on Jesus as Savior, which of course he is, but he's also our example. This is what a Christian is supposed to look like. And part of his authority to be able to transfer his authority. And so it's part of his Son of David, Messiah, all those things we would talk about, image that Matthew's painting. Not only can he do it, he can transfer that authority to us.
And isn't it that he's out of the box? He doesn't do things the way they have always been done, and hasn't it always been like the Levites that have been able?
That there have been exorcists, and they get mentioned in here.
Because like in the Chosen, the priest came to,
Right, but it wouldn't be necessary. Well, no, it was a Pharisee that came,
yeah,
and Pharisees are not priests.
oh, okay.
Remember, they're a lay movement.
So they called in the.
The authority, right, the holy guy.
authority to do it.
But,
Jesus is saying, hey, anybody can do this. If I'm giving
well,
you-
anybody in my name.
Yeah.
And then we moved to verse 2.
Tom, I
What?
have another question.
Yes, Melody.
Do they cast out spirits in Judaism?
They do. They did. I don't know if they do anymore. I imagine there are some sects that do. Verse 2, who's reading? Nancy is.
The names of.
Wait. There we go.
The names of the 12 apostles are these. First, Simon, who is called Peter, and Andrew his brother, James, the son of Zebedee, and John his brother, Philip and Bartholomew, Thomas and Matthew, the tax collector, James, the son of Alphaeus, and Thaddeus, Simon, the zealot, and Judas Iscariot, who betrayed him.
All right. I love how Matthew still calls himself tax collector. Matthew, the tax collector. I will always see him as autistic now, but that's neither here nor there. Zealot, we've talked about. Iscariot, there's some debate as to what this name means. It might mean that he's part of the daggermen, people that carry daggers, the assassins, the terrorists. Zealots are politically active, trying to overthrow Rome, but these guys are terrorists. If he is part of that, it's up to you. If it is, then that name is actually Ish Kario, the Ish Sikari, man of the dagger, but it's not clear. That's what that name means. And it doesn't matter because Judas is a scumbag and he betrays Jesus. All right, so we get the apostles already selected by this point. All right. Verse 5, you got to do more than 2 verses, Nance.
These 12 Jesus sent out, instructing them, go nowhere among the Gentiles and enter no town of the Samaritans, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And proclaim as you go, saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse lepers, cast out demons. You received without paying, give without pay.
When we're back to this, we'll go ahead and finish it up.
Acquire no gold or silver or copper for your belts, no bag for your journey, or 2 tunics or a staff, or sandals or a staff, for the laborer deserves his food. And whatever.
Now we'll pause. What's the evidence of the kingdom of heaven at hand as he's articulating it here?
The lepers and the blind.
Right. So healing the sick, raising the dead, cleansing cleansing lepers, whatever they are, also cleansing lepers and casting out demons. Huh. This is evidence of the kingdom of heaven at hand. Again, talk to these guys. Why would that be gone? Where's the scriptural evidence that this would cease? Sorry to bring you in on this debate, but it's occupying my mind. And John was over at my house yesterday. We were talking about it some. Because how can I do what I do if God isn't moving? So, interesting thing. People get fearful of God moving. They do. And if somebody evinces God's spirit moving with him or her, there's going to be opposition. Now, the Nazarene church occupies this awkward place because it was the Pentecostal church of the Nazarene when it was founded. And they believe in healing, but then there's a reaction that tends to want to circumscribe it. I mean, Dave McKellis and I had conversations before I joined this church. And we talked about this sort of stuff. And then, of course, he had Carlton Pearson come speak. Do you guys remember that? He calls me up front and says, well, I guess I'm going to get in trouble now. That's before Carlton went off the deep end. What? Yeah, he did. Yeah, that's not the point. We have people, all of y'all are serious about your walk with God, and you're looking for God to move in your life, and he wants to move in our lives. And our mindset can limit that. Jesus couldn't heal sick here because of their unbelief. It's an example of that. Be open to whatever God wants to do through you, whatever it is, and seek his face and see what happens. I'd love to hear the stories because you all have them, because you've all done something. And I love to hear those stories. I love to hear the story. Boy, you could write a song. Never mind. I'm lost. All right. You're going to do this. You're going to do these acts with God, and then he's also going to provide for you. You know, he's going to take care of you and feed you. Okay. Verse 11, whoever was reading, Nance, I think.
And whatever town or village you enter, find out who is worthy in it and stay there until you depart. As you enter the house, greet it. And if the house is worthy, let your peace come upon it. But if it is not worthy, let your peace return to you. And if anyone will not receive you or listen to your words, shake off the dust off your feet. Shake off the dust from your feet when you leave that house or town. Truly, I say to you, it'll be more bearable on the day of judgment for the land of Sodom and Gomorrah than it is then for that.
So we're not in the Sermon on the Mount. We've done that. But he's assembling this little group of teachings, Matthew is, because he likes to give us these. This is what it would have been like to sit at the feet of Jesus when he was talking. Well, that's pretty powerful stuff. We're not doing a philosophy. That's what he's telling them. You're going to be talking about a God who is and who moves and who, by the way, sent me. So expect him to move and go. And there are going to be people who will receive you and will help you and bless them. And those who reject you, just separate yourself from them. You know, you don't have to condemn them. Check the feet off. I'd be in your face as you will walk out of the house, but nevertheless. So, we're moving into, it's getting more bold. All right, Diane, can you read? Or do you not want to?
I learned at age 6.
Would you please read for me, starting in verse 16? Is it big enough?
I am sending you out as sheep in the midst of wolves. So be wise as serpents and innocent as doves. Beware of men, for they will deliver you over to courts and flog you in their synagogues. And you will be dragged before governors and kings for my sake, to bear witness before them and the Gentiles. When they deliver you over, do not be anxious how you are to speak or what you are to say. For what you are to say will be given to you in that hour. For it is not you who speak, but the Spirit of your Father speaking through you.
Pause. That's powerful. The Spirit's going to move through you to cast out demons, to heal the sick, raise the dead. Then they're going to arrest you because that's just what human beings do. And they're going to bring you before authorities. Don't worry about it. I'll speak through you. No, he doesn't say I'll deliver you. But nevertheless, when you speak, the Spirit will be speaking through you. You're going to be moving in the Spirit. This is a big deal. None of these guys are Levites. In the Old Testament, who got the Spirit? Prophet, priests, kings. None of you guys are kings. None of them are the lineage of David except for Jesus, as far as we know. They're not priests. Are they prophets? Nobody's claiming to be a prophet. And yet he says the Spirit's going to be upon you. This is the democratization of the Spirit. It's going to be most pronounced at the day of Pentecost. We'll get to Acts 2. So the Spirit's going to be, I'm going to pour out my Spirit on all flesh. We've all read the passage. That's a big deal. Big deal. And he's going to use you. So yes, little 15-year-old girl, how old are you? I was close, come on. 60-year-old girl. Oh, he's going to talk to you. He's going to use you. You know, when I heard the audible voice of God that called me a minister, I was 17. Senior in high school, lying on the bed, figuring out, well, just killing the day, because that's what seniors in high school do. So David was a teenager, probably more your age or younger, when he was called to be king. Moses was 80 when he got called. So there's no age limit on this thing. And the Spirit we poured out, and he pours it out on everybody. But yeah, it doesn't mean he's going to yank you off to Mongolia to be a missionary. But he has this guy that's in the line and ahead of you at Target that he wants you to speak to. Will you hear his Spirit? And my friend Buster, who you've heard me talk about, we talked about this ad infinitum. But back in the 70s, we used to do street witnessing. You just walk them down the street. And Peoria was the street where everybody hung out. They'd park their cars up and down Peoria. And we'd walk up and down there in the late 70s. When I said, "Oh, are you?" And you could do street witnessing. You approach people because there's all kinds of folks out there parking their cars and yakking, all the young folks. And Buster was sent out. A friend of his said, "Hey, let's go do that." I don't want to. You're a prophet. You guys don't want to do it. No, come on, let's do it. All right, but we're going to do it my way. And what does that mean? I mean, we don't talk to anybody unless God tells us to, which is interesting. Because what you can end up doing is inoculating people against the gospel if you're not careful by the haphazard. But they did, and God did. I want you to talk to that person. And the story is pretty interesting. But so don't get upset. He's going to have you standing out at the corner of downtown Tulsa, go and repent or die. He's not going to do that. But, Jeff, when you're dealing with one of your clients, it may be that their family member happens to be there. And God's going to prompt you to say something. I mean, that's all it is. It's, are we going to be listening? And do we expect him to move miraculously? And sometimes the miracle is just the fact that you spoke. But sometimes it can be very amazing. So you don't know. But are we open to it? That's the point. For it is not you who speak, but the Spirit of your Father speaking through you. Yes, you're in court. Don't worry about it. Verse 21, Diane. Well, I've got to highlight where it begins.
Brother will deliver brother over to death, and the father his child, and children will rise against parents and have them put to death. And you will be hated by all for my name's sake. But the one through all the towns of Israel before the Son of Man comes.
I lost my place.
I think you scroll more, so to speak.
The rise against parents, verse 22. Let's start at 22, Diane.
And you will be hated by all for my name's sake, but the one who endures to the end will be saved. When they persecute you in one town, flee to the next. For truly I say to you, you will not have gone through all the towns of Israel before the Son of Man comes.
No, whoa. What does that mean?
That's what he's always telling me.
You're not going to get through all the towns of Israel before the Son of Man comes. What? What?
Is that urgency? Don't you just get after it?
No.
Prophecy?
What's he talking about? That'd be the first question I ask. Is that a reference to the second coming?
That's what I'm wondering, because he's there telling you.
Yeah,
that's what
you got
he's-
that,
But this is early in his ministry, right?
right?
So it wouldn't be a second coming, it would be, maybe he's referring there to, till he reveals himself for who he really is. You know,
That's what I'm asking.
it almost has to be that, right? Because now, the message is.
You're talking about today? Yeah. What, yeah. So if you read that as the second coming, we have problems. But if it's not the second coming, since he is in fact standing there telling him this, what does this mean? I'm coming right behind you, don't worry about it. That's an odd, troubling thing. I'm gonna go,
You haven't had the Pentecost yet, right?
no ma'am,
Okay.
he hasn't been crucified and, right.
Referring to?
Your guess is as good as mine. Huh, things that make you go, huh. All right. Jeff Hunt, you dare show up, so you get to read. Pick up in verse 24, please.
A disciple is not above his teacher, nor a servant above his master. It is enough for the disciple to be like his teacher and the servant like his master. If they have called the master of the house Beelzebul, how much more will they malign those of his household?
Hey, this is what I'm calling you to. You're not any better than I am. They're gonna call you scumbag. They're gonna call you demon possessed. They're gonna call you prince of demons. That sounds like fun. All right, keep going there, Jeff.
So have no fear of them, for nothing is covered that will not be revealed, or hidden that will not be known. What I tell you in the dark, say in the light, and what you hear whispered, proclaim on the housetops.
What in the world? This is, okay, one thing about the chosen is John the Baptist gives Jesus a hard time. Why do you talk like that? How are we supposed to understand that? You know, they're cousins, they can get away with that. Like when Jesus casts out the demon and John goes, ah! That's pretty funny. But nevertheless, yeah, what? Say, I don't know. What you hear in the dark, say in the light. What you hear whispered, shout from the rooftops. Okay. You have to be bold at the very least. You have to be bold and willing to speak. Okay. Verse 28, Jeff.
And do not fear those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul.
Well, now we're getting down to brass tacks, right, Melinda? With your friends back in China being persecuted? What did I say? Sorry. I know your husband's name, but yeah, I got the M and the L and a D, Melody. Sorry. Anyway, answering my question. So don't fear those who kill the body, but can't kill the soul. I am having a heck of a time praying for you and Daniel and your friends. I don't know how to pray for that. How do I pray for people that are being, I'm going into the assumption they're being persecuted like you suspect? Because when you guys told us, I got the impression you weren't sure if they were, but you had the feeling they were, or something like that. And I'm going, how do you pray for that? And do I pray that they be delivered from it? Do I pray they have the strength to withstand it? I didn't know how to pray for it. So I just would what I want, get them out of there. If they're gonna rip out my fingernails, that's not for me. Not into the ripping out of fingernails or whatever it is. I'm being ridiculous. So rather fear, well, you read it, Jeff. Jeff.
Yeah. Let's see.
Start
Rather
right, but
fear him. Rather fear him who can destroy both soul and body in hell.
Oh, but wait, nobody goes to hell, remember? Oh, wait a minute. That doesn't sound like what this is saying. Jiminy crickets. I love how we just dispense the parts we don't like. All right, verse 29, Jeff.
Are not two sparrows sold for a penny? And not one of them will fall to the ground apart from your Father. But even the hairs of your head are all numbered. Fear not, therefore, you are of more value than many sparrows. So everyone who acknowledges me before men, I also will acknowledge before my Father who is in heaven. But whoever denies me before men, I also will deny before my Father who is in heaven.
Well, that's chilling. The early church dealt with this. And they got to the point where they treated martyrdom as a second baptism. And so people were volunteering, exposing themselves to Rome. And the bishop said, are you out of your freaking mind? You don't do that. And then you had people who, when they got arrested, just got so scared that they recanted. And then when the time passed, they wanted to come back to the church. And some bishops were saying, no, I can't come back. And others were saying, come on. That's a tough call. Both of those. Well, I don't know about volunteering. That's kind of stupid. But how do you respond? Gee, I will deny my Father in heaven. And I can't help but think of the Libyans on the beach a few years ago. Those 20 guys got their heads beheaded. Remember? Just a couple of years ago. Okay.
So is that this verse why he asked Peter 3 times, who am I?
Well, that's a perfect verse to bring up here. So what does that mean? Well, he denied him. So is Jesus going to deny Peter before the Father? Or what?
That's why he asked him, so that he won't deny him in heaven, because he gave him a chance to fix it.
Maybe. That seems reasonable. What I note in the Bible is that God has these laws and decrees and ideas, and then he turns around and kind of undermines them. No Moabite will ever enter into the kingdom. So let's make Ruth into the lineage of the Messiah. That makes sense. The money of a prostitute can't be used in the temple. Well, let's just put a prostitute in the lineage of the Messiah. That's what he does. Because he's a God of mercy. But it doesn't mean that actions are without consequences. Not at all. But I don't know how that works. And thank God I don't. Because I'm not God it. So whatever you've done, you can be forgiven. Just work on that assumption and see what God can do. But God was not mocked. And repercussions for actions still occur. So it's an interesting conundrum. All right. That's what Daniel?
Just curious, because we talked about lineage in John a couple of times. Baptist, and I'm just curious because of the cousin thing. Is he in the lineage also or not?
Well,
I mean,
somehow he's related, right?
he's not necessarily in the.
But what do we know about his father? He's a priest. Ergo, he's of what tribe? Levi. And yet they're cousins. I'm assuming by marriage or something. Somebody married somebody and so they're related, right? Because Mary is also of the lineage of David. And so how does that work? That's a good question. But I'm assuming a Levi married a non-Levi, which is not supposed to happen, by the way. And so things that make you, huh? All right, let's get an encapsulation here. Mari or Jenna, I don't care which, pick up in 34.
Do not think that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I have not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to set a man against his father, and a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And as a person's enemies will be those of his own household. And a person's enemies will be those of his own household. Whoever loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and whoever loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And whoever does not take his cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Whoever finds his life will lose it, and whoever loses his life for my sake will find it.
Now, the reference to the cross doesn't make any sense at this point. I mean, it'd just be a general cultural reference at that point. All right, whoever doesn't take his cross, so, oh, well, this is pleasant. Hinting at what's coming. So the cost is high. How many have read Dietrich Bonhoeffer's The Cost of Discipleship? If you have not, you owe it to yourself. Dietrich Bonhoeffer was a Lutheran pastor in World War II who got arrested by the Nazis and was killed in prison a week before the camp was liberated, a martyr. And he talks about cheap grace. That's what cost of discipleship is. And this is a man who, in fact, paid that price. Not an easy read, but a definite worth the read. Paperback, get it at Martell's, 15 bucks. I highly, highly recommend it. But this is what Jesus is talking about. It costs. It costs to follow him. Because your reputation could be slandered, right, Jeff? So, right, Nikki, who's not here, but so let's keep that in mind. How long is it? We're gonna get one more paragraph. We can finish this. Matthew, Buck, you get to finish up Jesus.
Whoever receives you receives me, and whoever receives me receives him who sent me. The one who receives a prophet because he is a prophet will receive a prophet's reward. And the one who receives a righteous person because he is a righteous person will receive a righteous person's reward. And whoever gives one of these little ones even a cup of cold water because he is a disciple, truly I say to you, he will by no means lose his reward.
And that's the end of chapter 10.
Is he calling his disciples little ones?
Well, there are probably kids standing around when he said it. But you get the idea. Huh. Things that make you go, huh. So I'm going to stop sharing now. Yay. So the cost is high, as we know. And it's going to get higher because I think we're entering into a dark time here. But also depends on where we are. So if you haven't read Dietrich Bonhoeffer, you owe it to yourself. Get the book. Bonhoeffer. Bonhoeffer. So, all right. Let's call it a day. Prayer requests, anything specific? Poppy, who lost her mom and is burying her tomorrow. So we want to keep Poppy in our prayers. Anything else? Oh yeah, man. Did you see that? 200 plus miles stayed on the ground. I mean, it goes a mile here and it does gazillions of dollars. 200 miles on the ground. That's unfreaking believable. All right. Jeff Hunt, you're going to close us in prayer. Not Jeff Hunt, sorry. Jeff Jankowski. No slam on you, Jeff, but I was thinking of Jeff. She's here. Yeah, okay. Nikki and all the stuff with her job and her family. All right, Jeff.
God, we just thank you for letting us come together and worship again and to learn about you through Dawn. Thank you for time and expertise he puts into this class for us each week. God, we do lift up Nikki and her job, where she's at and where she needs to be, and we just pray that you'll show her that path, God. Pronounce this week as they continue their search and journey. Just be with us in this service as we get to worship. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. All right. See you guys at the party tonight. If you come at the dress will be on the, whatever we call that thing, group me. All right. I'll see you next week.